Howdy, Aggs, and welcome to the very first episode of On Air with Student Affairs, where we talk about all things A&M, opportunities, programs, services, and experiences, and how to create your own Aggie experience. I'm your host, Morgan Miles, and I am the loudest and the proudest fighting Texas Aggie of the class of 2026, AAA. Whoop! And today, I have the honor and the privilege to talk to Brigadier General Joe Ramirez. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on.
Of course, of course. So today we're going to be talking about the division and what that is, and just maybe explain that a little bit for the people that don't know what the division does and what it is.
The easiest way that I can explain to people about what the Division of Student Affairs does is I tell them, students come here to get a good education, and they do. They get a great education here at Texas A&M University. But that's the time they spend in the classroom, in the labs, doing research. That's that part of their Aggie experience.
Right.
Student Affairs handles almost everything else outside of the classroom that contributes to that overall Aggie experience. So, for example, if you live in the dorms, that's Student Affairs. If you use one of our rec centers, that's Student Affairs. If you're a member of a student organization, that's Student Affairs. If you are a member of an MSC committee, that's Student Affairs. If you play an instrument or sing and are a member of one of those choral or musical groups, that's Student Affairs. So all of that falls under Student Affairs. And what I tell people is we contribute to the overall Aggie experience, primarily with experiences outside of the classroom.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about your role in Student Affairs and what that looks like.
Well, my role, I'm the Vice President for Student Affairs, and I've got responsibility for the entire division. And while it sounds like a big thing, I am extremely fortunate to be surrounded by some extremely gifted and talented professionals who do this for a living, have been doing it for a long time. And it's just my job to ensure that the vision for the division is played out, that our goals and objectives can be met every year. And my number one mission, as far as I'm concerned, is to make sure that our students are getting the best experience possible at Texas A&M University. I want them all to leave here feeling like they just had the best 4 years of their lives here at A&M.
I love that. So can you give us a quick overview of all the departments that fall into the division?
Wow, there's 14 of them. I mentioned some of them already, residence life, rec sports, student activities, which covers our student organizations, student life, which covers a lot of those educational and responsive aspects to being a student, like student assistance services, like health promotions, those things that react or are responsive to students and student needs, music activities, MSc programs.
Mm-hmm.
We have a student affairs office that handles research and also looks at student surveys, making sure that we're getting a pulse of how things are going out there. I've got student conduct. So unfortunately, we have students that, if they violate student rules, have got to go through that process. And let's see, disability resources.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have a large population of students that need assistance with some type of disability, be it physical, educational, emotional. That's what disability resources covers. Multicultural services, and they basically provide the welcoming environment for all of our students here at Texas A&M University. And I've also got veterans resources. So for our student veterans, we've got about 1,200 of them now at Texas A&M. This is an office that provides support to them in everything from ensuring they're getting all of their benefits to ensuring that they can schedule their classes, ensuring they've got money to pay for books and tuition and fees. It covers the gamut of supporting our veterans. So yeah, it's a pretty large organization. But again, filled with great professionals who take great pride in what they do every day.
Yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot of information, but
is.
Good information to know. So what would you recommend, and why should students get involved?
Yeah, well, it's amazing how I tell students that, part of being a Texas Aggie, being a student here at A&M, is getting to know fellow Aggies and getting involved in all things A&M. And I tell them with over 1,340 student organizations at Texas A&M University, there is something for everybody here. You know, if you like fishing, there are multiple fishing clubs. If you like car racing, we have car racing clubs. If you like athletics, sports, we have 38 team sports that are club sports that are part of student activities. They fall under rec sports. If you like music, we've got music programs for you. If you like to play chess, if you like to skydive, if you like to bake, we have something here for everybody. And so I tell students, you know, you really want to make the most of your A&M experience. Get involved. Get involved in one of these organizations, because that is where you're going to meet others. You're going to make lifelong friendships, and you're going to get that little extra to your A&M experience that maybe other schools can't provide. And so for me, it's all about getting involved and being a part of this A&M experience in a way that maybe other schools can't provide.
Yeah. How have you seen students benefit from being involved in student affairs?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest benefit of students being involved is the fact that when you look back on your A&M experience, and I don't say this in a demeaning way, but when I get together with my friends, and I graduated 45 years ago, and we get together and we talk about our experiences at A&M, we don't spend a lot of time talking about how great it was in Chemistry 101. Yeah. We just don't, you know, and that's not to say we didn't get a good education. Right. We all got a great education here. I'm proud of my A&M degree. I'm proud of, you know, how hard it was to get that degree. But I'm also proud of the fact that while I was here, I was involved in a variety of other things. I was in the Aggie band. I was in the Ross Volunteers. I was a fish camp counselor and a fish camp chair. I was in MSC Town Hall. I was in MSC Opus. And those were the experiences where I got a chance to kind of open the aperture a little bit and meet others and make friends and have experiences outside of the classroom that I remember to this day. And so when we get together and talk about our times at A&M, we're not talking about a whole lot of the classroom experiences as we are talking about all those great experiences we had outside of the classroom where we made friends and experienced things that we didn't get the chance to experience in the classroom.
Right. That's awesome. I love that. It's a great answer. So let's talk a little bit more about your current position as vice president and what has been your favorite memory or moment serving in that position.
Wow. That's hard to say because I've had so many. I always tell people that, you know, when people say, what's your favorite thing about being the vice president for student affairs? I tell them two things. Number one, the students and the amount of interaction I get to have with our students. And number two, it's the staff of people that I get a chance to work with every day because they are literally from all over the world. We have people working in the Division of Student Affairs from all over the world. And they came to Texas A&M because they wanted to be a part of something special. Right. And they love doing what they do. I mean, they're committed to the job that they do and they're committed to ensuring that our students get the best experience possible at A&M. And I will tell you, working with our students every day gives me great hope for the future because our students, I think, are second to none. I would put our students up against anybody, and they give me great hope for the future. And I just thank God that I get a chance to work with such wonderful people, students and student affairs professionals who truly love being here at Texas A&M and love being a part of this experience.
That is so sweet. So speaking of students, what has meeting with students one-on-one taught you? Yeah,
I tell you, one of the things I've learned is that we have students from all over the world, and they're all different. They all have different ideologies. They all have different motivations. They all have things that concern them that are different. But they're all united by the fact that they love being an Aggie. Yeah. You know, it doesn't matter where in the world you're from. You know, once you've been here a while, they all take great pride in being a Texas Aggie. So when I get a chance to meet with students one-on-one, that's the kind of the baseline. That's the common ground that we share is we're all Aggies. And it doesn't matter what your background, what your ethnicity, what your religion, what your gender. None of that matters. What matters is, hey, we've got common ground here in being Texas Aggies. And that's a good start point whenever I'm talking about whatever issue I'm talking about with students. I truly enjoy that aspect. And again, working with our students truly makes me proud every day. And it does, as I mentioned, give me great hope for the future.
Wow. That's awesome. And I really love the fact that you love meeting with the student body and just giving them the opportunity to sit down and talk with you. That's really special.
I really enjoy that. And I think it's mutually beneficial. You know, I like to think that maybe I've given them a little bit of advice or help in something they're dealing with. But I get a lot out of it, too, because it just brightens my day. And I learn from our students. I mean, we've got some very bright students out there that give me different perspectives on things. And I appreciate that.
Wow. So how was this time as Vice President of Student Affairs differed from your time as the commandant?
Well, probably the biggest difference is when I was the commandant, I was focused on a very small population at Texas A&M University. I had 2,500 cadets, and that was my world every day. Everything I did and my staff did was focused on those cadets and making their experience the best possible at Texas A&M University. And took great pride in that. Was very proud of the cadets, still am. Still very proud of those cadets and what they represent with Texas A&M University, especially having been a former cadet myself. But being the vice president, I've been exposed to many, many, many more students on this campus than I ever would have been exposed to had I just remained the commandant. I've learned a lot about student government. I've learned a lot about student athletes. I've learned a lot about Greek life. I've learned a lot about student organizations and how they run. I've learned a lot about our students at large and just what a wonderful group of people they are. And again, they don't all wear the uniform, but they all come here motivated and inspired to be good Texas Aggies. And it doesn't matter what you're a part of. You want to be a good Texas Aggie, I want to help you with that experience. And so that's what being the vice president has allowed me to do, is giving me the opportunity to interact with a lot more students than I would have if I were just the commandant.
Yeah. So tell us about your career trajectory and how you got into this position.
Wow. Well, first off, this was never in the cards. I graduated from Texas A&M in 1979. I'd been a member of the Fightin' Texas Aggie Band and loved my time in the Aggie Band and commanded one of the companies in the Aggie Band my senior year and loved that experience. But I owed the Army 4 years upon graduation. They had helped pay for my last 2 years of school, and so I owed them 4 years. So I thought I was going to go in the Army and do 4 years and get out. My ultimate goal was I wanted to go to physical therapy school. I wanted to be a physical therapist. Well, I didn't realize it, but I wound up staying in the Army for 31 years.
Wow. Thank you for your service.
So, well, thank you. Thank you. I got to tell you, I appreciated and I loved every minute of that 31 years, good times and bad times, peacetime and wartime. I look back on my time in the military and am grateful for the experience I had. So I served for 31 years, and then I got the opportunity to come back to A&M to become the commandant. And that was a phenomenal opportunity. I loved every minute of that. I did it for 10 and a half years, and I worked with some exceptional young men and women that have gone on to great success. And I'm very, very proud of the cadets as I look at what they're doing now, whether it's in the military or in government service or just working in business or entrepreneurship. It's amazing to see how well these cadets are doing now. And I honestly thought that when my time came, I was going to retire out of that job and then, just retire and enjoy life and go travel and take my wife around to do fun things together. And then in 2021, then President Banks asked me to step into this role as the Vice President for Student Affairs. Wow. And I had no background in student affairs. That was not my background, and I had no experience in that role. So I took the position in an interim role to see if, number one, it was going to be a good fit for me, and number two, if I could truly do the job. I didn't want to be a burden on anybody, and I certainly didn't want to affect our students in any negative way. And I was blessed with the fact that I had some great professionals on my team, especially among my assistant and associate vice presidents, who advised me, who guided me. I mean, there wasn't a question that I asked that they couldn't answer for me about how to handle this situation and what does this mean, how do you do this? And they helped guide me through that entire process. And so when the time came, I told President Banks at the time that I'd be willing to do the job full time if she was willing to allow me to do it. So she conducted a search, and I threw my hat in the ring as one of the candidates and was lucky enough to get selected. And I've been doing it now for about 3.5 years.
Wow.
And I have loved every minute of it. It's been a blessing for me and my family. And I like to think that I've helped many of our students have a good experience here at A&M as a result.
Yeah. So how have you adapted your military career and skills from that into this role?
Yeah, it's a great question because people ask me that all the time. I think there was a little trepidation about the fact that I was a military guy coming into this student affairs role, and that I would come in, like Patton, wearing a helmet and carrying a riding crop and barking orders. But over 10.5 years as the commandant, I learned that higher education is a different world. You're not dealing with soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. You're dealing with college students.
Right.
You're dealing with staff and faculty. And so we all play different roles. But the leadership lessons I learned in the military transcend higher education. I mean, I was able to adapt those same principles in higher education just as well as I did in the military. Different aspects, but I've been able to transition that fairly well here in higher education, from being a military leader to being a leader in higher education. And I'm grateful for all the experiences I got in the military that prepared me for this role. But I have adapted and had to change somewhat because higher education is a different world. You have to handle it a little bit differently. But I've tried my best to adapt in a way that I felt would be beneficial to our students, to the staff, to the faculty, and to the university as a whole.
Right, right. You were just such a cool person. You have so much under your belt. Many people don't know that student affairs is a profession at all. So can you tell us a little bit about your staff and some of the professionals that work here and how they just dedicate their lives to making A&M what it is? Yeah,
it's amazing how, I've learned a lot about that over time, and the fact that you can come out of college, with a focus on going into student affairs and higher education. And there are master's programs here at A&M that I have staff that actually teach at and teach courses on how to become a student affairs professional. And it's very, very special because these are men and women that want nothing more than to make a college experience better for college students, because that's what student affairs is all about. I remind our staff every day that our customer is our students.
Yeah.
That's who we are here to serve. And so these are young men and women that come out of college knowing that I want to do for these young people what somebody did for me during my experience in college. And I have great respect for them. And I've got some great ones. I've got some great associate and assistant vice presidents, all of whom have doctorate degrees, primarily in higher education. I've got directors here who have been in student affairs their entire careers. Some of them have doctorates, some of them do not. Some of them have master's degrees, but they're good at what they do.
Right.
And what impresses me the most about them is the fact that they are truly dedicated and committed to what they do. And they truly want to make a difference in the lives of our students. And in the world of student affairs, it just doesn't get any better than that. You can't ask any more of your people than to dedicate what they do to ensuring that the lives of our students are better as a result of what they've done for them. And so I am blessed every day. I thank God every day for the people I get a chance to work with who have dedicated their lives to this profession. And it is a profession, and they do it so well. And as a result, our students get to benefit.
That's incredible. That's awesome that we have people that are willing to do that and go out of their way to make sure that we have a good experience. So that's really incredible.
And they love what they do. And that's the thing that impresses me the most is every time I see them, they got a smile on their face and they just love what they're doing. And it's kind of hard to say, hey, why wouldn't you love serving students at Texas A&M University?
Right. So what's your hope moving forward for student affairs?
Well, my hope is that we continue to provide the services to our students that they want and they deserve, especially as we continue to grow. Because as we continue to grow, of course, that stretches our capabilities, whether we're talking facilities, whether we're talking money, whether we're talking people, whether we're talking programs. I want to make sure that we can continue to provide the same level quality of service to our students tomorrow that we're providing for them today. And so we are constantly assessing that, checking ourselves to make sure that we've got the right facilities, people, programs in place to ensure that our students are getting the very best services possible. Because again, it's all about making their experience the very best one while they're here at Texas A&M.
Well, thank you so much for coming to join us today. All of your answers were awesome and blew my mind.
Well, I thank you. Again, it's great that we're doing these. I'm glad we've transitioned into the podcast world. I listen to podcasts now. But more importantly, I think what's important is people need to know that the Division of Student Affairs at Texas A&M University is a great organization that their primary purpose is to serve our students. And it's filled with great professionals who dedicate their lives to just that, to making this experience at Texas A&M the best one possible for our students. And again, and I'll also second that by saying we've got the best students in the world right here at Texas A&M University. I'm proud of them. I'm proud of what they represent while they're here, but even more importantly, I'm proud of what they're going to do when they graduate here and go out there and make a big difference in our communities, our state, our nation, and our world.
Wow. Well, thank you again so much for coming. And thank you to everybody who's listening and watching wherever you are. Thank you for joining us for the first episode. And be sure to keep up with us on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcast. You can also follow the Division of Student Affairs on Instagram, or you can check us out on our website at tex.ag/create your Aggie experience. Thanks and gig 'em.